I deleted my own pages this month. Not archived it, not paused it, but full on took it down. And it was one of my better performing ones too, which is exactly the problem. And I'll get to that in a minute. So last month I told you that I tore a bunch of stuff apart and I rebuilt it, right? Well, this is the follow-up that nobody makes, because the follow-up is where you find out the rebuild didn't take, right? Hey, if you're new here, then I want to welcome you, okay? I'm Isai Rodriguez, and this is the Home Business Hustle. I'm building something of my own on the side of my 9-to-5 that pays the bills, but isn't actually what's going to be the thing that sets me free, right? And every week, I show you exactly what that looks like. Not the highlight reel, but the actual thing. If you're a working dad who's tired of being successful on paper, but broke on time, then you're in the right place. We don't do the guru hype here. We don't do the laptop on a beach lifestyle fairy tale, right? We just do the work that actually works. And with that said, let's get right into it. So yeah, here's what happened. I went back through my funnel, page by page, top to bottom, and read it as if somebody else had written it. That's the whole trick right there, by the way. Read your own work like a stranger wrote it, right? You'll catch things that you know that you walked past maybe 40 times. And I got about halfway down one of them and I just stopped, because the page was making promises that I'm not willing to make anymore. Are you with me? Now, I want to be careful here, because I'm not going to read you the bad lines. That's not humility. That's just me not wanting to republish something that I took down, right? But the shape of it was basically just numbers, right? Outcomes. The kind of thing where you tell somebody what's probably going to happen to them, right? And you just honestly don't actually know that, right? And I wrote that page. Nobody handed it to me. I sat down and typed it out, right? And here's the part that I want you to sit with, because it's the actual lesson and it's not the one you're expecting. But that page technically wasn't a lie, right? When I wrote it anyway, it was who I was at that moment. That was the language that I had been handed, right? That was how everybody around me talked, right? And I genuinely didn't know any better, right? It was true to me at that time. Are you with me? But then I changed, right? I got a lot more careful about what I put my name on, right? I wrote actual rules for myself about it. And the page itself didn't change because nothing told it to, right? That's it. That's the whole failure right there. Not that I wrote something bad. Everybody writes something bad. Everybody, like the failure is that I got better and the page just sat there not getting better, right? Being the old version of me out in public 24 hours a day, right? Not good. Fair enough. Are you with me? Now, let me tell you the small one, because it's the same disease and it's almost funny, if you will. My weekly video publishes on Friday, right? It used to publish on Thursday. I moved it. So I made the call, told the people who needed to know, and moved on with my life, right? 3 weeks later, I'm setting up a shoot and something's off, right? So I go digging. I'm my planning doc said Friday. My brand doc said Thursday. My calendar file said Thursday. And, the tool that builds the calendar was told to copy the pattern from the old calendar file. I don't know if you're following this, but the one that said Thursday, right? So I made the decision right there, like just once, right then and there. I made it out loud. And 3 documents were quietly outvoting me, right? Basically fighting me against it, okay? Every time I built a new month of content, the old wrong answer got copied forward into the new one. Politely, automatically, no errors, just like that. That's because that was how the system was built, right? That's how I built it. Something was true once at one point, and it stopped being true, And nothing in my system was capable of noticing that, right? Until I sat there thinking to myself, how would somebody, until I read it as somebody would read it who wasn't me, right? So here's what actually changed this month. 3 things, actually. And none of them are exciting. Nothing's like, a big whoop. But the first thing that changed was that every rule lives in exactly one place. Not mostly in one place, one single place. So if the publish day is written in 3 different documents, you don't have one rule. You have 3 rules that currently agree. Right? And I can tell you from experience that they will not agree forever, right? Pick the place, pick the place or the thing where it gets to just decided, right? And then make that decision and then document it. Everything else points at it and shuts up. That's it. It's silent. The second thing that changed was this. Never build a new version by copying the old one, right? This is the one that actually got me without me even realizing, right? I wasn't paying attention. And I think it's the most useful thing in this video, really. See, copying last month's version feels efficient. In fact, it is efficient, right? But you have to be careful because while it's efficient from a time perspective, right? Easily copy and paste it, things like that, and then tweaking a few things. It can also be efficient at reproducing last month's mistakes, right? Which is what happened to me. And every month you copy forward, the error gets a little bit more established and it starts to look correct just because it's been there for a while, right? Build the new thing from the rules, not from the last thing that you built, right? Not from that output. Establish the rules that you need and then build from that, right? And the third thing that changes was this. Make the system check itself, right? Build in some quality inspection points into your system. I added a list to the bottom of my process, 22 things for to look for: row count, day alignment, does column A contradict column D, things like that. It's boring stuff, the kind of thing you're supposed to just be careful about, but be careful isn't a system, right? Be careful is a wish, a checklist that runs every single time and reports what it found. Now that's a system, and it catches the thing you'd have skipped on the Tuesday you were tired, right? So here's what I actually think this month taught me, okay? Because there was a lot of lessons, but this one in particular kind of was the basis of this video, we'll say. So I've been treating cleanup like it's the boring part, the stuff that you do when there's no real work available to do. But in fact, cleanup is the actual work, right? Because everything you've ever built is still out there running, right? Every page, every doc, every process, and all of it is frozen at the version of you that made it at that specific time. You hopefully are getting better, right? You're getting better. Your old work stays there and doesn't get better. It just keeps confidently telling people whatever you thought back then forever until somebody goes and looks and realizes, right? That's not a one-time cleanup. That's a standing appointment, if you will, right? And listen, I'm not standing here having solved this. That's not what I'm saying. I got more pages on that list that I need to go over and review and and rebuild and whatnot. There's a whole rebrand that I started, and this is actually what prompted this whole thing. Is that I started running and working through a rebuild or a rebrand. And it just kind of snowballed on me, right? And it's sitting there kind of like in a half-finished state right now, right? Today, while I'm talking to you, it's half-finished, right? But I found it. And that's the difference between this month and last month, that I found the issue and I'm dealing with it as I'm finding them. Not that everything is clean, but that I finally went and I looked and I took the time. Because, again, slow and honest beats fast and fake every single time. So here's the assignment that I have for you, and it's uncomfortable in a useful way, right? Go read one thing that you published more than a year ago, right? One page, one post, one email that's still live, and you're gonna find you're gonna find something, right? And when you do, don't defend it. You weren't wrong to have written it at that time. You were just a different person, right? Fix it, move on. That's it. Simple, easy peasy. And listen, if you want the version of this with the actual mess in it, all right, the half finished stuff, the things that I got wrong the same week, right? I write a daily email called the Build Debrief. This video is essentially like the clean version. That's the rest of it, what's on that daily message. One link in the description. That's the only place I'm pointing you today. And there's a reason for that. I'll probably explain sometime at some point next week. We're into September. And I'm going to want to talk about what happens when the thing you built starts working and you have no idea why, right? Think about that. In the meantime, I want you guys to do the work, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.